Hey everybody, Johnny Tiger Bomb MMA. Today I'm going to go over UFC De Ridder versus Allen, give you my thoughts and predictions on the entire 13-bout card taking place in Vancouver, Canada, British Columbia. If you haven't been to Vancouver, it's a very pretty place. I'm actually going to go to Vancouver again in like a week after the card itself. So not this week, next week I'll be in Vancouver. And it's a nice place if you like Indians. But this card itself, it's being headlined by what I like to call the Meershaert gang. We've got, Dutch Meershaert and De Ridder, and then we've got Swamp Meershaert and Allen. And with these two guys, they are trying to be the true Meershaert, opposed to obviously OG Meershaert. And with these two guys, they are essentially a mirror matchup, and I'll get into that itself, but I find this to be a much more intriguing matchup than the original matchup, which was De Ridder versus Fluffy. In my opinion, I think Fluffy should just get kind of fast-tracked to the title. It's almost like they don't want him to fight for the title. I'm not really sure why. I don't want to really think about it, but give you my quick thoughts on these fights here, starting with the first fight of the night. Do we have a Canadian? Yes, we do have a Canadian in Melissa Croden versus Tainara Lisboa. Currently, Thai Panther has minus 160 odds. Come back on Croden plus 135. And I'll be honest with you, man. I taped Croden, did not find anything truly redeemable about her. I think her striking defense is god-awful, does not move her head, eats a lot of punches. When we're looking at her 6-2 record, one fight in particular, and I want to look in there just to be certain, the Jacqueline Cavalcante fight, where she went 5 rounds with a very solid UFC fighter, undefeated in the UFC, and she got her ass beat. In multiple occasions, she got dropped, I think, 4 times in the same round. That toughness and that win, or not win, but that fight itself, I think is holding a lot of weight because, look, I'm not going to tell you that Tainara is this world beater. A lot of her wins, or at least fights, are also holding her up in the UFC, as in like, oh my God, she fought Valentina Shevchenko back in like Muay Thai days, and who else did she fight? Valentina twice. She fought Norma Dumont, but those are all losses. Norma choked her out, and if I'm going to be honest with you, I've never really viewed her as much of anything to write home about. Yeah, she's pretty decent in the clinch and striking. As of late, mostly trying to go for grappling. Her one UFC finish is a submission over Jessie Jess via rear naked choke, and then she got dominated by what's her name, Luana. I always get the Luanas mixed up. Santos just got dominated on the ground and got Americana'd. This matchup, to me, if this stays on the feet, Croden, I know to some extent, like, I didn't tape her to the nth degree, but just watching her and fast forwarding on her tape, rough stuff. Like, she tries to dominate her lesser experienced opponent, and the one time that she fought someone decent, she got her ass beat. I think this is going to be a very close fight. It could go to a split. It could go to one of these funky decisions where the Canadian crowd's going to be on the Canadian. They're very good at backing their people. But if this stays on the feet and Lisboa is landing, and I'm going to cut it straight, I don't think her striking really is looking well translated into MMA. I've not been particularly wowed by anything that she's done, but if this becomes like a Muay Thai type of fight, I would expect Lisboa's strikes to be the much cleaner and the much harder, and I think she'll mix in some takedowns of her own. But again, you can't trust these women. Give me Tainara just on principle, because from what I'm seeing, I know some people are picking Croden as like a decent dog, and I get it by the circumstance of like, yeah, she's plus money, and this is a women's MMA bout where it's somewhat like competitive, but just the tape is 100% taking me off of this one. So if you have a different opinion, let me know on her, but maybe I'm missing something on Croden. But from what I'm seeing, when she's getting tagged by nobodies, like pretty viciously and getting bloodied up nose-wise, that's a big red flag for me, especially for a girl who looks incredibly unathletic. So moving on here, we've got Azamat Bekoev versus Yusri Belgauroi. And I'll be honest with you, man, when I first heard about this matchup, yeah, I know Belgauroi is a Teixeira guy, Pereira guy out in Connecticut. I just wasn't sold on him based off of his more or less UFC level competition. I'm using air quotes there because it was in the Contender Series. Tulio beat the shit out of him. He just kind of looked lost in there. Decent decent striker. I know he's a K1 glory type of striker. He even fought Pereira and lost. He's a big, tall dude, good gas tank, very hard to take down. But I have seen him when he gets taken down, he can get controlled there, especially against the cage. Bekoev is going to have maybe a hard time early on getting the takedowns. It really varies. In my eyes, it's either Bekoev will be able to get these takedowns early because he's, much better grappler, the best grappler he's fought, other than I'm assuming him training with Teixeira. But if he can't get these takedowns, will he tire himself out? Will his neck get pushed down by Belgauroi, and then he's going to have really a hard time getting inside the reach? Because Bekoev's striking is not anything spectacular, but he does have power, and he does get in close, and he does wing punches, and sometimes that's enough. And that's how I view him. He's currently, minus 275. The comeback on Belgauroi is plus 225. I think Belgauroi is a solid, let's see what happens kind of bet, because we don't really know much about him. Like, the tape tells me that him beating these lower level guys, he looks solid. How is he going to do against a guy who wants to get him to the ground? Now, I'll tell you the God honest truth about Bekoev. I've never really been impressed by him pre-UFC, and then to an extent post-UFC. His 2 wins are intriguing. Like, he knocked out Zach Reese, but I thought Zach was going to give him a bit of trouble. He did knock him in the back of the head a couple times, bonked him. Ryan Loder, look, I picked Bekoev, but my official prediction was I think Loder could make it a tough fight for him because it's going to be, 2 wrestlers. And if Bekoev kind of gasses himself out trying to take down Loder, what's that fight going to be? And we almost saw it, but Loder just did not keep his hands up. He got dropped, came back up, and you kind of saw Bekoev, because he was winging retard punches like overhands. He was getting a little tired. But, when you've got that type of like mentality of kill or be killed when you're gassed, Bekoev, I think he got kind of lucky there where he dropped Loder and he curled up into a ball. So I'm very curious. I don't think Bekoev is this guy who's going to come out here and dominate, because I think he's going to have some adversity. It's just, will Belgauroi be able to keep it on the feet to take advantage of him giving him that adversity? And I'm not sold on it. So I'm going to go with Bekoev by a decision. I think he can smash Belgauroi, but given his height, his decent takedown defense, it's like trying to take down a fucking giraffe. It's going to be really hard to put it on its back. So if Bekoev cannot get those takedowns and establish himself early, I think Belgauroi has a very good chance here. So it's a dog or pass for me, but I am seeing a very good path to victory for Belgauroi, although I don't really view him as really that good himself, actually. Moving on, we've got Stephanie Luciano versus Ravina Oliveira. Now, for Oliveira, not really been impressed with her at all. The odds, though, kind of wild. Stephanie Luciano plus or minus 350 for losing to Sam Hughes. Now, I will say I don't think she lost to Sam Hughes. I think Sam Hughes has a way of convincing the judges that she wins fights by walking forward, eating punches. And I think the benefit to Sam Hughes is that because her face is already jacked up, the damage she's taking, it almost looks like no damage at all. It's like, oh, she's always looked like that. So with Luciano, I think that was a very good fight for the right direction, towards the right direction, that is, in the sense that she fought a very tough, experienced gal that, gives a lot of people trouble, and I think she actually won that fight, so I expect her to be the longer, better striker, avoiding getting taken down. Ravana, just again, a name on the roster, plus 275 to women's MMA bout. Really, in these matchups, anything could happen. But if I'm going based off of who I think is a much better prospect, it is going to be Luciano. I think she's made a lot of improvements from the first Alan Carr fight to the second Alan Carr fight. It showed me everything I needed to know. And the performance against Sam Hughes, I think, was a really good step in the right direction. Unfortunately, she got hosed on that decision. Oliveira's going to want to have to get it on the ground. She's going to want to maybe establish her striking early to dip and go for takedowns. But if Luciano can keep it on the feet, and as long as she doesn't do anything stupid, she's still relatively young, she should win this one by a decision. Moving on here, Kyle Prepolec versus Drew Dober. And let me be frank, man. Like, when I first saw this matchup, I saw the odds minus 480 for Dober and plus 350 for Prepolec. I was, like many people, considering Prepolec. Like, the MMA math of, well, Prepolec did kind of give a surging now BDS a tough fight. Excuse me. And this is his hometown. He's not a bad fighter. And that's the thing. Like, the reality, the perception of reality is that Kyle, 18-9, some like more or less unathletic Canadian, got kicked out of the UFC, got brought in on short notice. This could be one of those spots where we're getting him at a very good discount because, again, we assume he sucks real bad. He doesn't suck. He's a solid guy. He's very, very experienced, just as experienced as Drew Dober. I think they match up well skill wise, except that Drew Dober has that ridiculous chin and nasty Muay Thai kind of left hand power. Drew's been knocked out before by white boys in the past. Frevola for once. Man, that nasty Torres knockout though was a big eye opener, in the sense that either Drew is finally completely cracked, or maybe Torres just hits really fucking hard. Regardless, 15 follow-up punches is not good for your health. And how long ago was that? That was 6 months ago. This is one of those, like, you cannot bet Drew Dober. So might as well take a shot on Prepolec to maybe get a surprise. I'm not picking Kyle. I do think that if Dober has that durability, he's just recovered well, and Kyle can't really put him out. As long as Dober's like motor functions are still valid after that ass whooping, that's the thing that does scare me about Drew. He took an ass whooping, but prior to that, he has improved takedown defense. He showed that against Moicano. He has, improved cardio. He can go. His only losses are to very good people, but it's just like you cannot bet Drew Dober here, like, casually. You have to kind of take a shot on Prepolec. So I'm gonna go with Dober by a knockout. I'm gonna say in round number 2. It just really depends on how he looks. We don't know, man. We just saw a guy last week fight with a broken fucking hand. What are these Canadian commissions going to allow Dober to fight with? If he's like, read the top letters for me, he's like, banana. Like, oh yeah, he's ready to go. Don't worry about it, Kyle. We got you. So we don't know. We really don't know. So give me Dober by knockout based off of the perception that he's, not a Mongoloid anymore. Like, anymore. He's never. Anyways, nice Nebraska boy, Drew Dober here. Definitely not a racist. But yeah, give me Dober to win this one by second round knockout. Next bout, we've got Danny Barlow versus Jourdain Santos at middleweight. Barlow is moving up. I am highly intrigued to see what he looks like at middleweight with those extra 15 pounds. Probably more, but he's going to cut down. Minus 275 could be a very good line. Now, Jourdain Santos, let me rant about him real quick. This dude should not be in the UFC. You can, if you're watching and you give a shit, I fucking called him out against Ozzy Diaz. I was one of the few fucking people that said Ozzy was going to beat him. I got called a fucking retard for picking Ozzy. And when he got his fucking hand raised, I told everyone to suck my fucking dick. Santos only got into the UFC for beating the shit out of Will Curry, who is a gas machine. This guy is built like a Greek god, but he sucks. He will like forget how to fight. He's a front runner, as people call him. And now he's plus 225 at middleweight against a guy who hits hard. And Jordan's more of a like pitter-patter decision machine. Now, if Barlow, here's the issue with Barlow. If you're skeptical, hands or arms are typically breaking all the fucking time. Just got knocked out by Sam Peterson or Patterson. Sam Patterson, whatever. But was the weight cut doing that to make him look shitty and make him less durable? Because he's been kind of having some weird performances at 170. If he does have those 15 extra pounds and he's feeling good and he's way faster than Jourdain and he hits harder with a longer reach, I expect him to put his ass fucking out. So give me Barlow to win this one by a knockout in the first or second round and Barlow make a statement. But if I see him and he's not actually 6'2", he's like 6 foot tall, and he's not bigger or like in better shape, because I've seen pictures of him just clothed and he looks a little skinny, but could be deceiving. I don't think Jourdain deserves to be in the UFC. I think him beating a loser like Will Curry at like a big underdog, like even Dana said, like, oh, you came in here as a plus X amount dog and you beat a guy that was supposed to beat you. Come over here, kid. Like, no, fuck that. We should not be taking bottom of the barrel kind of favela guys that suck. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. Watch him come out here and look better than ever. But I don't think a guy who lost to Ozzy Diaz. Now, I didn't say Ozzy was going to beat him because he's a great fighter. I just said Jourdain sucks and Ozzy's decent enough. And a guy who doesn't have power to knock out Ozzy Diaz isn't going to typically beat Ozzy Diaz. So give me Barlow knockout first round. Next bout, we've got Bruno Silva at flyweight versus Hyung-Sung Park. Plus 200 on Silva is ludicrous to me. Yes, he has lost 2 in a row by TKO. And Park minus 250. What has he done? I'm not saying I don't dislike Park. I think he's solid. But when we're watching this guy fight the upper echelon of the division, which we just saw against Tyra, he got steamrolled by Tyra, dropped and finished by this kid. A guy like Silva, highly experienced. Yes, he's 35 years old, but everything about him is like peak. His durability is still good. He fought the former number 1 contender, and former that is because he could not fucking make weight in Manel Kape, fast boxer, heavy hands. Another guy, fast boxer, heavy hands, Joshua Van, fighting for the title. Nothing to really, discount about Bruno Silva. This guy has a black belt in jiu-jitsu. He's tough. He can take a shot. He hits hard. He can overcome. Yes, Durden fucked him up early, but he came back and won that fight. If Park wants to win this fight, he does have to establish the pace. He has to keep it at his distance, avoid the low kicks. He has to be the more technical guy. Park coming in here and finishing Carlos Hernandez is not anything special. Like, I love me some Carlos early in his career. Like, I thought he could be somebody special, but he just never panned out. Like, he had all the attributes, but just nothing really between the years. So for Park to finish him that early, that doesn't tell me he's going to come out here and finish Silva. Give me Silva to win this one. I think he can win this one in a multitude of ways by establishing takedowns, using his hard low kicks, calf kicks, overhand rights, or whatever the fuck he wants. But yeah, give me Silva to win this one. I'm just going to say by decision here. I think Bruno definitely needs this fight in this win, so he might even play it safe. And even playing it safe, I can see him winning this fight. But he can win it by submission or knockout. I'm not discounting Park. This is not me saying Park sucks and he's not up to the level of Silva. I think he has a chance to establish that, but it's more of game planning and being safe opposed to, being a natural gifted fighter that I think Bruno Silva is. That chin, the power, the overall ability, the strength of schedule, I think is going to lead him to this victory. I think it's just kind of a level game at this time. Moving on here, we've got Charles Jourdain versus Davy Grant. I'll be upfront about Davy. He's plus 115. Can't count him out. And Jourdain minus 145. This for Jourdain at 135. It's a tricky one for me because he's only had one fight at 135 against Victor Henry. And Victor's a good name. Victor's a very good fighter. Getting a submission over Victor's solid. But Davy just kind of, he's the ultimate cockroach. He refuses to go away. At 40 years old, essentially, this guy has nasty output, and he can beat you just with that output. The threat of the threat, essentially. The threat of him hitting you hard, and he hits you with a nice little teep to the body. He has a nasty left hand that he just swings. He's a gunslinger. There's not anything you don't dislike about Grant. It's just the age. And I think at one point, there's going to be a guy that's going to end his little streak. He's on a 2-fight win streak now. What was the other fight that he lost? Daniel Marcos. People argue that he won that fight, or that he... I'm not going to argue about that one, man. Like, I had Marcos, so I'm not going to tell you that I think Danny won or Davey won. I will say it was pretty fucking close. But, yeah, it's interesting. But with Davey, what makes him a good dog in most occasions is that if you cannot control him, and if you cannot establish yourself over his ridiculous, crazy output that he's just throwing random bullshit, and that sometimes is enough. If Charles cannot establish himself as the quicker, cleaner striker early with the superior boxing, and that's the thing. Like, Jourdain is probably better than him everywhere at this point, but he doesn't fight like it sometimes. I'm going to reluctantly go with Jourdain, and I can foresee him looking either incredibly good here where he gets a finish over Davey, he could edge this out over Davey, or he could just lay an egg. He's not a guy I really want to trust, and I think the odds indicate that as well. So give me Jourdain to win this one by a decision. I'm just more curious to see if he can pass the Davy Grant test. Like, Davy has established himself at 135. If you can't beat him, you probably don't belong in the top 15. And right now we have Charles Jourdain, who's top 13. Let's see if he can actually establish himself in that group of people. So if Davy wins, fucking props to the guy. He just doesn't go away. The last time I've seen Davy get dropped was in Yas Island in the first UFC Island. What do we call it? Fight Island fight, where he fought Martin Day. Martin dropped him. He ended up coming back and knocking out Martin Day. So that's the thing about Davy. You can't count him out. That's why I'm a little skeptical here with Charles. Charles has, again, in multiple occasions, looked like the best fighter ever, like making Shane Burgos like run for his life and try to out grapple him. And other occasions look like absolute dog shit, so you can't trust him. But give me Charles by a decision here. Next bout, we've got the main card opener, essentially a mirror matchup. Kyle Nelson versus Matt Frevola. Plus 115 on the monster. Kyle Nelson come back on the steamroller. Frevola minus 130. I like seeing Nelson back at lightweight. I'm curious to see how he is going to look, with those extra pounds. He had initially started his UFC career at lightweight, and he's how can I put it? He toiled at 145, where he, I guess, bettered himself skill-wise, like his jiu-jitsu, his wrestling, his strength, and we get to see how that translates up at a higher weight class, not one that he's not unfamiliar with, against a solid guy in Matt Frevola. Matt, I think he's let's just put it this way. He's very skilled. He's got the wrestling, the cardio, the striking is improved, the nasty power. We've seen him knock out Drew Dober. The submission game against Fiorot, it was very close early, and then he kind of slowed down, the adrenaline dump. He did go for a nasty guillotine that I thought he was going to get. And then he got put into retirement for a year. Both of these guys actually got knocked out in their last fight, and they're coming back a year later, and it's nice to see. Frevola got it nasty. His chin has always been an issue. Kyle is a competent striker, so it's an up in the air kind of fight. The physicality is going to be on the side of Frevola. I think if Frevola wants this win, he has to establish himself with the wrestling. Maybe don't try to play the striking game. These guys, I think, are very evenly matched, and again, the odds indicate that. Dog or pass for me, in my opinion. Skill-wise, though, I have to give it to Matt to win this one. I think he can win this one by a knockout or a submission early. It's just what will happen when both these guys are tired. If it gets to the third round, I will have to go with Frevola. I think he will have the needed strength and wrestling ability to kind of maintain top control. But I don't have the best grasp of this fight here, because I do see some value on Kyle, but to what extent, right? Is he going to out-wrestle Matt Frevola? I would like to see it, but we'll see. I think Frevola will be the one pushing the pace with the wrestling. Moving on here, we've got Cody Gibson versus Aoriqileng. Winner gets to actually live in communist China, because both of them are commies. Anyways, minus 120 for the Renegade. Cody Gibson, Aoriqileng, plus 100. Let me just cut to the chase here with Aoriqileng. This guy, let me double check his record, because I don't want to speak out of turn. Because my main thing is, like, if this dude fucking lost to fucking El Jefe, Jeff Molina, he does not belong in the UFC. His only wins are over Jay Perrin, Cameron Else, and Johnny Munoz Jr. And here's the thing. I like Johnny Munoz. I thought he was skilled, but he could just never put it together. But if we're being honest, like, I like Jay Perrin too. Solid guy. Nearly knocked out Aoriqileng. For Cody, he's going to have the height advantage, the reach advantage, the wrestling advantage. Since he stopped, I think, teaching full-time, he's been working at MMA or training MMA full-time, and it's shown his improvements. It's just, man, I don't like him. I really don't like this guy. But he should win this one. I think he can actually take the back of Aoriqileng and choke him out, even possibly knock him out. So give me Gibson to actually push a pace early and take the neck of Aoriqileng in the first 2 rounds. I think this might be a pretty decent line to take on Gibson. Aoriqileng is just not a guy that tends to beat decent competition or good competition. But when we look at the strength of schedule and the people that Cody Gibson's beaten, look, Brian Kelleher, I will say Chad and Helliher is a pretty decent win. He's not a bad fighter. And yeah, man, I don't know what to say. But I'll just say this. I've seen Cody Gibson lose fights where he's looked better than ever and just looked like fucking shit midway through. It's happened multiple occasions, so not a guy I really trust, but I might be willing to take a shot on him at these odds. Moving on, we have got Jasudavicius versus Manon Fiorot. And man, this should have been the fucking co-main event because Jasudavicius, as I call her, Jazz Delicious. I love me some Jasudavicius. I call her that bitch, Jasudavicius, because she she trains with men. I always joke that she looks like the kind of girl that will start a fucking riot at a hockey game just so she can get some rounds in sparring to beat up some fucking random people, some native women up in fucking Canada. Anyways, plus 190 on Jasudavicius, minus 135 for Manon Fiorot. I view this fight to be very close. Skill-wise, look, what makes these types of fights intriguing is they are women. The likelihood of a knockout is almost non-existent. Jasudavicius is tough. Manon Fiorot is also tough. Manon is more of a point fighter, the prettier fighter, if you will. Wants to keep her distance. Like she can grapple. I forgot. I think she's like a judo background or sambo judo. Decent jiu-jitsu. I don't really care. It's up brown belt, black belt, roughly. Jasmine, on the other hand, her style is very gritty. Again, that bitch, she will be in your face. Striking defense isn't necessarily the best, even though she initially started off as a striker, but she's more developed into, as she put it in her Contender Series fight, she wants to be the female GSP, aka She-SP, and that grappling has just tremendously evolved where she can get it to the ground, dominate solid competitors. Roughly, if we're going to compare the strength of schedule, you can't necessarily beat Valentina, especially considering that was Fiorot's last fight, where give a round or two, she could have won that fight. I don't think she necessarily performed terribly, but she didn't perform optimally. Jasmine, on the other hand, what makes her special is that ability to say, fuck it, I'm coming after you. And that's what I do respect about a girl like Jasudavicius. She can easily get outpointed here by Manon keeping it at distance, side kicking her, just running away from the cage. But what is different from other women that will allow that to happen is that Jasmine will fucking grit her way through those shots and try to take you down and pound you out. She's nasty. She is legit vicious in there. And I'm hyping her up, but plus 190, I see a path to victory for both women. It's just who is going to implement their style. For me, I'm going to take a chance on that bitch, Jasudavicius. I'm not confident in this. I'm not saying I'm not confident in her to try to win the fight. Like, she will fight for your money. It's just I'm not confident that that kind of style is going to benefit her. I think if Manon is firing on all cylinders, she can do the keep away, side kicks, whatever, clinch up when needed, maybe try to take Jasmine down. I'm just really intrigued by this matchup because if Jasmine wins this one, that's fresh blood in that division where she could fight for the title. And she's on a nice win streak here, fighting good people, finishing a lot of these girls. So give me Jasmine to win this one by a decision. I think it could be gritty. It could be a split. And depending on how loud the crowd is, they might just fucking give it to Jasmine. So I think Fiorot at this point, given that performance that she had, maybe keep her away from the title. We don't need to see her win. I think the best days are behind her, let's just say. As for Jasmine, I think there's more to see from her. Despite her being the older of the two, I think that Jasmine has made more leaps and bounds in her style compared to Manon Fiorot. I think she was so comfortable being the I kick you kind of fighter. It just she's been so complacent in that she never really developed. Think of like Cyril Gahn just running through people, being so fucking athletic and quick, and then he really never had to work on his wrestling and grappling, and we see what happens now. But yeah, give me Jasmine by a decision. This is more of a selfish pick for me. My brain is telling me Manon's going to win this fight, but again, like given extra factors, bias, Jasudavicius for the win here, decision. Next bout. Vera versus Ayman Zahabi. Plus 120 for Marlon. Come back on Zahabi. Minus 140. Very similar to the Jasmine fight. Ayman being the Fiorot spot here, he's going to be the more technical of the two. Maybe not the better striker, but just the smarter of the two when it comes to the game planning. Clearly, with the last name Zahabi, you expect there to be some sort of like, oh, we have Marlon figured out. Marlon plus 120, I think, is a little bit disrespectful for the guy. Yes, he's kind of fallen on hard times. And my view of Marlon at this point is how much does he want it? I think he's hit that peak where after knocking out the Dominic Cruz in that fashion, like he was on top of the world, dude. Like this dude then fights Corey Sandhagen to a split decision where, man, what I loved about that fight is that Corey definitely won it. But given the MMA criteria, one could bullshit that Marlon could have won it. I'm not justifying it. I'm just saying one could technically bullshit themselves into saying, yeah, Marlon won, and here's the reasons why. Pedro Munoz, I actually low-key thought he lost that one. Then he was gifted the O'Malley fight, and then he looked kind of shitty against Figueiredo. And, man, I don't know. This one's interesting. If Marlon gets Zahabi in the same spot where Aldo had him, Cheeto's going to fucking destroy him. It just, will he be able to capitalize? He sometimes waits too long. But if we see gritty, hungry Marlon Vera who will eat your best shot, go at you, attack the body, throw head kicks, and then lean in with those nasty elbows, I can see this being a very, very bad fight for Zahabi. But given the fact that Zahabi's on that trajectory, that winning streak, the confidence at an all-time high, and Marlon maybe having doubts about if he wants to fight again. I can kind of sense it, The writing on the wall for me was a Figueiredo fight. Like, he could have won that fight, and he just kind of got lazy. And it almost seems like, is he fighting for a paycheck? Like another guy on this card, which we'll talk about in a second, kind of gives me those vibes. So it really varies. It's hard to pick against Zahabi in Canada. But man, is he really at that level, or is he a guy that's kind of gotten lucky along the way? Like if we look at the wins here, Aoriqileng, he knocks him out. Like that was kind of a given. The Meershaert fight. What's funny about the Meershaert fight is that really a good win? Like it should have been a split, I thought, but Meershaert kind of handed it to him. The Pedro Munoz fight, I don't really remember much about the Pedro. I didn't tape that one, but the Aldo fight, which was interesting, like he took some damage in that one. Ended up coming back and getting a takedown on an exhausted Jose Aldo. And I'm curious to see if Marlon could really put that gas on him and maybe break him with elbows. So I'm going to go with Marlon Vera, see what he has on the tank. This is one of those, like, I'm probably going to get it wrong. I don't have the utmost confidence in Vera. Like, man, my homies have been robbing his house for the longest time out in LA. So sorry about that, Marlon. Maybe that's going to, like, emotionally cripple him. That we still I said too much. Anyways, give me Vera by a decision. Let's see how this goes. Next bout, we've got Kevin Holland versus Mike Malott. And here's an interesting bout. We've got Kevin Holland plus 115, come back on Mike Malott minus 140. Let me entice you with a question here about Mike Malott. Like, how good is Mike Malott at 12-2-1? This is an interesting matchup because he's fighting Kevin Holland, and Holland is in one of these spots where he's often in. He is a dude that looks promising and that can beat a lot of dudes at welterweight, and then he loses in like a baffling way, and now he's like, oh, he sucks, and he's plus money. How much longer is Kevin going to do this shit? Is he only fighting for the paycheck? Is he trying to improve? What is fucking with him at 170? That fight against Rodriguez was like, what's going on, Kevin? Like, yeah, your boxing kind of fucking sucks, but what is wrong? Like, D-Rod is slow, and he's hitting you. He's a tank, and he's like, you can hear the rum, bum, bum, bum as he's fucking moving forward, and you just can't get out of the way. And he talked about, like, how he ate a bunch of pasta, and he didn't feel good, and he threw up after the matchup. So how am I going to believe him? Am I going to believe him like I should have believed Poatan after he destroyed Ankalaev in X amount of seconds? By the way, anytime I pick Poatan to lose by knockout, because that's what I think is going to happen, he ends up fucking destroying his opponent in like devastating quick fashion. So every fight going forward, Poatan loses by knockout, if you catch my drift. But in this case, Kevin Holland, is he trustworthy? Fuck no, man. But what's funny about him, anytime you pick him at dog odds, he ends up winning. Like the last time I picked him on dog odds was Gunnar Nelson, and we saw how good he looked there against a very good grappler. Now, with Mike, Mike is a guy that I like a lot. I like him a Malott. All right. Stupid joke, but this dude seems like he's got it all. Good grappling, good striking, but he doesn't seem to have like the resolve. Like, let me pose this question to you as I should have earlier. Um, if I could do my best Gianni impression. When we look at Mike Malott and we see his losses, he's got two losses to people. He's lost to Neil Magny. He's lost to Hakeem Dawodu. And when we look at those two guys, they have something in common. They're black. So I look at him. How many times has he fought black people? A total of 4 times. He fought 2 guys in Solomon Renfro, and he beat him. And then he fought Trevin Giles, and he beat him. So he's a 50% chance he's going to win against a black guy. I like those odds. So with Kevin Holland, are we going to take 50% chance that he's going to beat Mike Malott because he's black and he's going to remind him of Neil Magny beating his ass? Maybe. Kevin's even made up that joke himself about like, yeah, he kind of fights like me, so I watch a lot of Neil Magny, but he's a consistent winner, while Kevin is not, even though he's technically better than Neil Magny. 50% odds via betting on black. At plus 115, what does that give me? Like 65% odds that he's going to win the fight? At plus money? Shit. Give me Kevin Holland to come out here. Kevin even said it himself. Like, he's 2 steps below the guys that I lose to. Mike, I do think he's a bit chinny. Mike has a very good chance to knock out Kevin Holland for the first time. Mike has good jiu-jitsu. Like, everything is telling me, yeah, Mike's going to win, but the racist in me, Mike is probably afraid of black guys. So give me Kevin Holland to win. You know, Mike is Canadian, doesn't really see a lot of black dudes out in Canada. Tons of Indians, right? If this was an Indian dude, fucking Kavit Holland Dali, yeah, he's going to whip his ass. But this is a true black dude from Texas, the real motherfucker. So I think it's going to probably scare off Mike Malott. He's going to be like, I don't know what to do with this guy. Give me Kevin Holland to come out here and win this one by a knockout in the second round. It's going to bite me in the ass because Kevin is such a perpetual ball dropper. But again, 50% implied odds. Give me the black guy. Give me Kevin by knockout second round. And then main event here, we've got Rainier de Ridder versus Brendan Allen. Dutch Shart versus Swamp Shart. And I say that they fight very identical to the OG Meershaert, right? They are both very tanky, slow grapplers, good grappling, decent striking, but they just fucking gas, they get tired. They're just the same caliber of fighter. They're all middleweights. We also had fucking who's the other Shart? What was it? There was one where it's like all the Meershaerts are like fucking like matched up together. We got OG Shart, we got Paul Craig, which is basically fucking Scottish Shart, and someone else actually, but whatever, doesn't matter. But in this matchup, we've got Rainier de Ridder minus 210, plus 170 for Allen. And let me be real with you, I like de Ridder a lot. The issue with de Ridder is we just saw him fight Gerald Meerschaert, essentially the OG version of himself. And that was fascinating because they were pretty much deadlocked. I suspect that the Meerschaert clan kind of counteract each other, where these grapplers with, you know, similar builds, similar style, can counteract themselves in a 5-round fight. I think Brendan Allen might be the better of the two on the striking feet. On the feet, he's got the better kicks, the better boxing. I like Allen in this spot for the reasons that if this becomes a pure striking matchup, no grappling because they're going to probably counteract each other, I expect Allen, as long as he doesn't gas, this is on short notice, but I expect him to be in good shape. I expect him to keep it on the outside, throw in the better kicks, avoiding getting taken down. I've seen him get taken down. I've seen him get takedowns. He actually beat Paul Craig, Scottish Meerschaert, and de Ridder did beat OG Meerschaert. But both times, man, like between the two, I think Allen's was a bit more impressive. Now, is he going to be able to get De Ridder down? Does he want to get De Ridder down? I would love to see it. I'd love to see these two on the mat because Allen has a very particular method to jiu-jitsu. Like he's very good at control on top and nasty at getting submission over position. He will get that rear naked choke in first, establish it as you are fighting hands. He will then get the hooks in, and then you're out. De Ridder, this motherfucker can do magic on the mat. But when he gets tired, which he will eventually do in a 5-round fight, he gets less and less impressive. And that's where I can see Allen getting some takedowns and some top control. He has to establish body work. They both have pretty decent body work themselves. I think De Ridder, though, with that leaping knee to the body, that is the number one thing that he needs to establish and for Allen to avoid, right? Because that is a nasty knee, and he kind of throws it very liberally. And we saw what happened when he tried it against Whitaker against the cage. He got countered, he got dropped, and nearly finished. So if he starts doing that shit again, you got to time it, and then you got to go over on the top with the overhand right. But I think if this does become one of those, like, I'm going to negate your grappling, you're going to negate my grappling, we're going to strike it out. I'm not saying De Ridder can't win it on the feet. He does have power. He's very fucking lanky and a longer reach, but he's so goofy and awkward. He's got that Tism style where I can just see Allen being cleaner, landing better defensive, and he can win this fight via decision or possibly a knockout. Now, I want De Ridder to win, so I would hope that he wins early with some magic, right? Like he gets Allen down, gets on top of him, and just handles him. But if that doesn't happen and Allen is stuck in there, a guy who went life and death against the guy who I would have expected to beat De Ridder in Fluffy Hernandez, I can see him getting the better of the grappling exchanges at the end of the rounds if they do happen. But if he wants to be safe, keep it on the feet. I think he's going to be the quicker of the two, just by my iota that he's going to be quicker because they're both fucking slow. So give me Allen to win this one by a decision, giving the crowd a very fun fight. Very fun, sloppy, Meershaert fight. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Like, share, subscribe, all that shit. Johnny Tiger Bomb. I will see you next week.